There's a famous story. It's not so famous. I told it a bunch of times, so it ought to be famous by now. We live in the United States of America. We're very blessed. We live in a country, there's never been a country so benevolent to the Jewish people. The Jews occupy the highest roles in American society. We live prosperous lives, free lives, freedom of religion. It's really, and it becomes a little bit of a problem because you get the complacent Jews. What do I need the redemption for anyway? I'm pretty good the way it is. There are people that I know who are like, I'm not really interested in Mashiach coming. Like that's not as attractive an idea to me as the way things are now. I don't really want things to change. I like it the way they are. I don't want to live in Israel. I don't want to have obligations and animal sacrifices and all that stuff. Right? It's not appealing to me. There's a famous story. It's not so famous. I told it a bunch of times, so it ought to be famous by now. The story is that at a Pesach Seder, when this family got to Lashana Haba'ah b'Yerushalayim, next year in Jerusalem, so they started singing Lashana Haba'ah, and they get up and they're dancing against the whole family and all the guests, this big crowd, a couple of dozen people there, running around the table, dancing, Shana Haba'ah b'Yerushalayim. And they get so into it, they're so happy, they're so enthralled, they're so excited. Meanwhile, the husband notices that his wife is kind of sitting, sulking in the corner. She's looking a little upset. And he goes over to her and he says, "What's the matter?" And she says, "You're so excited about Lashana Haba'ah b'Yerushalayim. And I just think about how we just paid off the mortgage. I like living in this house. I like our community, and I'm not ready to go to Yerushalayim. I don't really feel the way about Lashana Haba'ah b'Yerushalayim that you feel. I'm not excited like you are. I like the way we're living now, and I would like it to remain." And he turns to his wife and he says, "Honey, it's just a song." It's a hard ending to the story. It's just a song. And isn't it so though? I'm sorry to say, we sing the song, but for how many of us is it more than just a song? It's a hard reality. The Gemara says one of the Amoraim, one of the sages of the Talmud, I think it was Ula, he says, let Mashiach come, but let me not be there for it, right? That he understood that the travails that the Jewish people would endure prior to the redemption would be so intense that, of course, he hoped the Mashiach should come. He said, but he himself didn't want to endure, what would come before. He was kind of like, I'll take it the way it is now, Of course, I want Mashiach to come. Lashana Haba'ah b'Yerushalayim, But I don't need to be there for it. The interesting question on this Gemara is, how could such a holy person like Ula say, let it come and let me not be there. So I read in a sefer called the Ahavat Chaim. He says the following parable. He says there was once a rich man, and he made a wedding for his son, and he made a huge affair, and he invited all the people in the town to come. Everyone was invited, and they're setting up this big outdoor tent where they're going to make the event. And they're setting up the tables and everything, and some people show up too early. They come a few hours too early. So they come in the middle of the day and the thing's in the evening, and it's in the middle of the winter. So they're setting up this tent. They're going to put heaters inside, and they're going to warm it up. But they get there and it's still really cold in the tent. It's freezing. So some poor people show up, and some rich people show up. And the rich guys start talking to each other. They're like, it's not for a few hours. Let's go home and take a nap. And when it's time, we'll come back, right? So then the two poor people hear these rich people talking, and they say, oh, that's a good idea. One of them says, let's go home, let's go take a nap. And then when the party starts later, we'll come back. And the other fellow says to him, don't be a fool. These rich guys, the party's not going to start without them. So until they show up, the host is for sure going to send somebody to go wake them and bring them to the party. Says, you and I, we're not important. The party's going to start without us. If we go to sleep now, we might not wake up in time for the party. We're going to miss it. Better to stand here in the cold and freeze ourselves a little bit and be uncomfortable so we can enjoy the party when it comes. So the Ahavat Chaim says that is the parable for the end of days, so to speak. A tzaddik like Ula, he could say, I know that the Jewish people is going to pass through some difficult trials before that comes. And I don't want to experience that. So I'm okay to leave this world because I know they're going to wake me up. Like you said, I will be resurrected for the party at the end. But I don't want to be here for the suffering part. Says the Ahavat Chaim, but normal people, like me, normal people, don't have such a guarantee. And so we do need to daven, as we're going to see. We do need to daven for the redemption to come as soon as possible, even if it is in our time, because better to suffer in the cold and be at the party afterwards than to go to sleep and perhaps not be woken up for the party. It's just a song.